I work in my daily life is documentary work where I work with people in extreme kind of situations, and I immerse myself in their lives. I live very close to them for a long period of time, and communication and being with them is very important to me. And immediately when I came, I was working in UAE and Yemen, and there were logistical problems as well with the, trying to, UAE is a very difficult culture to access as an outsider. The Emirati, there's a lot, like here it's 20%, Qatari, and then the rest is expatriate workers. So to access the Arab culture of, say, UAE was almost impossible, and I couldn't find a translator. Even with council's help, I couldn't get a decent translator. And so I thought, I can't make work that involves people. I'm not going to start photographing people because I can't talk to them. And I don't want to use them as symbols for something in my head. So I made the work specifically as an emotional distance. And that's why the work, it feels very distant, because that's how I felt, and I want to be true to that. At the same time, I adopted a sense of a survey. So survey work, which is, just kind of architectural survey work. And what I wanted to say, I guess, in my work was, because like Tim was talking about reconstructed histories, when I look at guidebooks about Arabia, I'm being presented again with these very romantic issues of what Arabia is. My father's house is actually quite a romantic name for an exhibition about architecture. It plays into certain preconceived ideas. And again, I'm being presented with old forts and what both, I guess, what Arabia, by countries in Arabia want the outsiders to see, and also then it's a kind of what outsiders want to see of Arabia. Maybe outsiders don't want to see method, because this idea that when I was in Yemen, they used to call Yemen in the old days Arabia Felix, happy Arabia in Latin, and when I was traveling in Yemen, Yemen has such societal pressures on it now with water and population that I was almost seeing, and for me it would be like Arabia Concreta, like a kind of concrete Arabia. We all know that I travel enough around the region to realize that for me, that's the reality of Arabia for me, not a kind of romantic fort, image that it's fact a lot of the population, especially in Yemen, are living in very badly planned concrete buildings that are thrown up. In the same way that skyscrapers are being thrown up, badly planned too. And so with this three set of pictures, there was this idea of, here is a place where Arabia, where it's untouched. Interesting enough, where they're going to build a bridge. There's a planning going ahead to build a bridge to Djibouti. Here is Shibam, which was like a, heralded as this kind of, the original skyscrapers. And because Yemen has a very rich history, and then here is Methba, and in some ways, what is heritage? And heritage is something that is lived, buildings that are made and lived in, and then later are viewed as kind of romantic ideas. And my question is like, will one day Methba become this kind of ancient city? Will this be an area like Old Sana? Like this place here, which is like, wow, we're going to go to Methba, and for us it's like, wow, it's just some concrete jungle. So these kind of comparisons, and so in the same way, what I did was then photographing. The question was then the mosques that I photographed, which aren't particularly, I wanted to photograph the mosques because I thought they're beautiful, but at the same time, then questioning ideas of cultural heritage and beauty was then to compare them, well, not to compare them, but to also photograph gas stations in Yemen. And then to question the idea that, here, these things over here that we make, I found these incredibly beautiful. And to question our notions of architecture and heritage and beauty. Why do we say that one thing is beautiful and not another thing? And to reevaluate the buildings that are being made, or the architecture that's being designed, and saying, well, is this cultural heritage?
And that's a really good point, because from a Western point of view, these are quite unusual structures, because in the West, petrol stations are very utilitarian. They only spend as much money as it takes to actually construct just a shelter top and then something for you to pump from, and that's it. So with these that have all these quite exotic bits of architecture that reference, local forms, to us that's really quite amazing. It's like building a big kind of pastiche structure, and why would you do that?
Yeah, and if you come round to one of them actually to pick that up, like here, in fact, are the kind of inlays that one would expect to see in a kind of inside a house or a mosque or something with the words from the Quran, or I think is it
Prophet's name.
Prophets. Yeah, and so it was very, I was amazed by these designs and buildings or objects. And so in the same way that I was thinking about then, because what I had to do was build a bridge between Yemen and UAE. The council asked me to make a project with these two countries, and we all know, okay, Yemen is the poorer cousin in Arabia. It has a great kind of has economic problems, a burgeoning population. At the same time, it has probably the richest history in the region, like an ancient, really kind of full of this kind of ancient. If you talk about cultural heritage in terms of a retrospective, romantic look at it, I mean, Yemen is full of that. But then looking at UAE, you have one of the countries that obviously is being seen as an economic kind of a vibrant economic culture of the region, and at the same time, where is that ancient culture? And so what I did was instead of cementing those two ideas and making the arguments of something, or the discussion something that we already know, my question was, how do I build bridges between and make comparisons that are then interesting comparisons about architecture or about cultural history? So hence doing the mosques and comparing the mosques to gas stations in terms of, here's something we accept as beautiful, here's something that we don't accept as beautiful, let's look at it and think maybe we need to reevaluate, or there are everyday objects that are beautiful. And the same way, then taking, water towers. Here, water towers in UAE, and here, kind of water fountains in Yemen, and the comparison between the two objects that people don't really look at, and yet somebody has gone to the trouble to design them. Like, if they were not interesting objects, then why even try to have all these different type of designs, And obviously with the water fountains, I mean the really old ones are extremely beautiful, and there's care. And again, talking about cultural heritage, it's like, how come then? I mean, then this was almost like this was in a gas station, and I love the sense that just the idea that utilitarian objects functional objects can have, or should have a kind of beauty to them. So again, and I wanted to challenge this thing, like I didn't want to photograph forts, and I wanted to photograph something where people then ask again about the ideas of cultural heritage.